Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Learn Live session where we will be talking about how to plan for cloud workload protections using Microsoft Defender for Cloud. My name is Lara Goldstein. I'm a Cloud Security Program Manager with the Microsoft Defender for Cloud team here at Microsoft, where I work with customers to adopt Microsoft Defender for Cloud on a daily basis. I'm co-presenting with Trent. Rod, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
I do. I appreciate that, Laura. This is actually a pretty awesome opportunity. Some folks know me already from a security perspective at Microsoft, but I am Trent, cloud security advocate at Microsoft. Obviously, focused on Microsoft. I want to welcome everyone to my little remote area of Ignite. I'm in Middletown, Ohio right now, not in Redmond, but enjoying Ignite nonetheless. I'm focused on security. A lot of people know me from things like Microsoft Sentinel and some other things, but our topic today, talking about Defender for Cloud migrating workloads, is actually one of my favorite topics. So imagine that. I was actually selected to talk about something I really, really, truly like. So that's me. If you have any questions or anything for any of the things that we talk about today, please feel free to use the chat.
Thanks, Rod. We also have an amazing moderator today, Yuri Diogenes. Yuri is a principal PM manager within the same organization as me. Yuri is absolutely fantastic. It's not every day we get someone like Yuri to moderate our session. So if you have any questions related to the content that we're presenting, please feel free to leverage this time with Yuri. Thanks, Yuri, for taking the time to moderate for us.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming to have Yuri as well. He's like an absolute expert in this area. So this is awesome. It's great to have him here.
Yeah, he's amazing. We invite you to follow along with our presentation today using the Microsoft Learn module that we'll be going through. You can access it by scanning the QR code on the screen or by going to aka.ms/learnlive-2022-1012F. The link is on the banner at the bottom of the screen, so please feel free to go through and follow us. Our learning objectives for today are to describe the Microsoft Defender for Cloud features, so explain what is Microsoft Defender for Cloud, what can it offer you, talk a little bit about the workload protections we offer, and then teach you how you can actually enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud after you learn how great it is, hopefully.
Yes.
So for a quick introduction, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a cloud security posture management and cloud workload protection solution for Azure, multi-cloud, and hybrid environments. In this Learn Live session, we're going to be using a scenario. So we're going to pretend that you're a security analyst that's working for a company that already uses Defender for Cloud, and you're responsible for implementing workload protection offerings provided by Defender for Cloud. We're going to help teach you what Microsoft Defender for Cloud is and give you an overview of the different resources that you can actually protect and the capabilities that you can leverage.
Yeah. I think just if I could throw in an anecdote there, I think since this is one of my favorite topics, this workload protection, working with a number of customers that I have specifically for this, I think this is awesome. And this Learn Live module, I think folks should really dig into this and take advantage of it. This is as customers are in the process of migrating workloads from on-prem to the cloud or other clouds and what have you, or just beginning the process, right? This is a chance. A lot of organizations see this as their chance to like start fresh, but it's also a little bit overwhelming sometimes. I want to start fresh. I want to do it right this time. I've done things on-prem for the past 20, 30 years, right? And I've hoarded a lot of stuff, and I want to do something a little bit better. Defender for Cloud is absolutely that service that's going to allow you to do it better. It's going to give you those recommendations, which we'll talk about, and also help you do it more securely. A lot of organizations think that, if I'm going to migrate workloads to the cloud, it's just literally I'm going to do exactly the same thing I've done for the past 20, 30 years, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing in the cloud. And that's not necessarily the case all the time. And Defender for Cloud is absolutely going to help expose that stuff for you.
You're absolutely right. Cloud security is an entirely different ballgame. So let's go back to the slides and we'll start actually explaining what Defender for Cloud is, because we've said it probably a dozen to 100 times already and we haven't actually described it. So let's go through. Defender for Cloud is your solution for the two main pillars of cloud security: Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM, and Cloud Workload Protection, CWP. With Cloud Security Posture Management, Defender for Cloud is giving you visibility into the different resources you have connected to Defender for Cloud, whether those are still on premises, in Azure, or in other public clouds like AWS, Azure, Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud Platform, GCP. For each resource, Defender for Cloud is going to show you the current attack surface of that resource so you can better understand your security situation. It's doing this because it's providing you hardening recommendations based on any security findings or misconfigurations, gaps that it's detected. And in each recommendation, there's going to be actionable remediation steps that you can take so you can quickly and effectively reduce your attack surface and increase your security. It's all happening behind the scenes. We're continuously assessing your resources and your subscriptions for any sort of security gaps that would affect your overall security posture. We aggregate all of these findings together and generate something called a secure score for you. You would get a secure score for your Azure subscriptions, your GCP projects, your AWS accounts, based on an assessment of those resources compared with the guidance in the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. And what the security score is meant to do, it's meant to be a key performance indicator in a way, to give you a glance of your current security situation. So the higher score you have, the lower the identified risk level. And of course, your goal should always be to have a 100% secure score, to know that you've mitigated the risk in your environment proactively as much as possible. Of course, we know that's not always possible. So there will be some workloads that may be open to attacks, and that's why we have Cloud Workload Protection. Cloud Workload Protection offers advanced and intelligent protections that are specific to different types of cloud resources, like storage accounts or servers in the cloud or on premises. And for each of these plans, Defender for Cloud is giving you security alerts that are powered by behavioral analytics, anomaly detections, and Microsoft Threat Intelligence. Microsoft Threat Intelligence, if this is your first time hearing of it, then it shouldn't be, but I mean, it's a great, it's really amazing. So it's collecting billions of signals daily to really get a holistic view of the security ecosystem, so Microsoft can truly understand any known threats that exist and how those would be impacting your environment at any given time. And I'll give some examples later on about threat intelligence and some of the other anomaly and behavioral analytics we have within Defender for Cloud. So far, we've really just discussed what Microsoft Defender for Cloud is, and we discussed that cloud workload protection plans are offered to specific resources in Defender for Cloud. So Defender for Cloud has incredibly broad coverage for compute, data, and service layers in your environment. The current Defender plans are Defender for servers for your virtual machines and on-premise servers, Defender for app services for your Azure web applications. We have protection for Azure storage accounts through Defender for storage, protection for different sorts of database offerings like Azure SQL databases, SQL servers on machines, open source relational databases, and even Cosmos DB accounts. Defender for containers, this is going to be for your container registries and your managed Kubernetes services, whether that is Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service or Azure Kubernetes service, Google Kubernetes Engine. Those can all be protected through Defender for containers. And then the last three we see here, Key Vault Resource Manager and DNS. These are our service layer protection offerings. So with Defender for Resource Manager, we're protecting all resources in your Azure subscription that are updated and managed by Resource Manager, which is pretty much anything. So if there's any abnormal change of permissions or any unusual access from a malicious IP address, Defender for Resource Manager is looking at that and giving you an alert. Rod, just out of curiosity, which is your favorite Defender plan?
Oh my goodness. So I have, and I'm going to date myself here, right? So I've been in IT, if you want to call it IT these days. I've been in IT for, I don't know, 30 years or so. So that's a long time. To me, I really appreciate the Defender for servers. The way that we can pull in the on-prem stuff. So as we talked a little bit earlier about these customers that are migrating on-prem workloads to the cloud. Yeah, absolutely. It supports those VMs and servers that exist in Azure and other clouds and stuff like this. But it's also the on-prem stuff, right? You can connect that to Defender for Cloud. So you're kind of getting that holistic view for security in the environment. Of course, all the other stuff is awesome, but yeah, I think that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I know Defender for containers. We can also connect to on-premises Kubernetes clusters and help you achieve container security across the entire container lifecycle. I think that's a really awesome plan, but we won't bore you too much with our conversations here. So we'll start talking about some of the capabilities you get with these Defender plans. So in terms of these enhanced security features, you're going to get alerts, advanced protection, and even vulnerability assessments for certain workloads. With security alerts, whenever Microsoft Defender for Cloud detects a threat to your environment, it's going to generate an alert so you know what's going on. The alert's going to have details with the affected resource, any suggested remediation steps, any recommendations that you haven't solved for that resource yet that leaves it vulnerable. And you also have the option to automatically remediate the threat by triggering a workflow automation powered by Azure Logic Apps. So one of my favorite examples of this is with Defender for Storage. To protect your Azure storage accounts, Microsoft Defender for Cloud would give you an alert if potential malware has been uploaded to that storage account. So that alert is going to be based on hash reputation analysis using the power of Microsoft Threat Intelligence. It's looking through a feed of known malicious hashes for viruses, Trojans, spyware, and ransomware. And the alert's going to tell you the exact file that is affected. And when you get that an alert, a Logic app can automatically be triggered to go ahead and quarantine that malicious file, delete the file, remove access to the file. So there's a lot of flexibility offered through Logic Apps. So it's a really nice integration.
Hey, one quick question for you there. I think we've had in the chat already, since we're kind of on that topic. The question is from the chat, does Defender for Cloud for virtual machines replace the need for antivirus on the host itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing about Defender for servers that we're actually going to talk about later on is that it comes with an integration for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which is our endpoint detection and response solution. So if you get Defender for servers through the Azure portal, those servers can be protected with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. You can see your servers in both locations, and Defender for Endpoint does have antivirus included, Defender antivirus. So you can use that for an antivirus solution, or you can still keep your third-party antivirus solution. Defender for Cloud would still be able to detect that it's in place. Defender for Resource Manager would be able to see if it's like an extension to a machine and someone is disabling it or doing anything that would be malicious with that extension. We would be able to give you an alert on that. So you would be protected either way. Of course, we're always going to recommend Defender for Endpoint. But that being said, we do offer flexibility because we know how complex different environments are. Anything you want to add on there, Rod?
No, that was perfect. And I was going to harp a little bit more on Defender for Endpoint because it is absolutely an awesome service, but that's not our topic. I apologize. That would like steer us straight out of this Learn module. So I'll wait for that.
Yeah, perfect. So about the alerts, we are generating the alerts based on Microsoft Threat Intelligence. That's not all we're using. We also are using advanced behavioral analytics and anomaly detections, like I mentioned earlier. Behavioral analytics, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, this is analyzing and comparing data to a collection of known patterns that security researchers have determined to be malicious. So if there is a command or process that's normally associated with digital currency mining, we would be able to pick that up and give you an alert that there is activity associated with currency mining running on your servers or in your Kubernetes cluster on the nodes there. We also do anomaly detection. This is more personalized to your environment. So we're looking at the baselines that are specific to your cloud deployments. Maybe the normal way a service account within a Kubernetes cluster would interact with other resources, so we can alert you if there's any abnormal activity going on. With all of these signature, rule-based, and custom analytic alerts that we provide, Defender for Cloud can really identify attacks and prevent zero-day exploits on your network, your machines, data stores, containers, web apps, and more, and give you more insight into what's going on if you do get breached, with giving you that information about the post-breach activity. We have a full Fusion kill chain analysis, correlating alerts in your environment based on the cyber kill chain analysis to give you that full picture of the attack, where it started, and the impact it had. And even though the security alerts, they're all displayed in Defender for Cloud, you can export them wherever you want to Sentinel, a security incident and event management system, a third-party SIM solution, anywhere that you feel would be the best location to react immediately and prevent further attacks from actually happening. All right, that was a lot, but on top of just alerts, I'll go quicker. On top
Well,
of
I just yeah, and that's fine. I think it's probably pretty good to kind of hover here for a second. The interesting thing here is, and you talked about it a little bit earlier, and you may talk about it some more, but the power of the threat intelligence that gets fed into Defender for Cloud and all of our security products, it's absolutely amazing. You talked about, I think you said billions, but it's actually trillions of signals now, I think, that we're collecting literally every day. As customers utilize more and more of our services, the services that we offer our customers, they actually help secure themselves by using more of our services. So it gets fed back into our system. So this Defender for Cloud stuff, you talk about it's going to identify this, it's going to protect you from this. It absolutely is, because it has that intelligence to be able to accomplish that.
It's amazing seeing the alerts that Defender for Cloud provides and the way it helps customers. It's really, really amazing.
Yep.
All right, but it's not only just threat intelligence and alerts that our Defender plans are giving you, because we also offer really cool advanced protection capabilities. So we have capabilities like something that's called just-in-time virtual machine access. This lets you lock down incoming traffic to your virtual machine. So close your management ports like RDP and SSH. But if a user does need access, then they can request it. If they have enough permissions, Defender for Cloud will let them in from their IP address for a defined time interval that was configured by the administrator beforehand. So that's a great way to stop those threat actors, from hunting accessible machines with open management ports, because it'll be closed unless a user actually needs to connect to that virtual machine. There's also something called adaptive application controls. This is a great solution. It's automated, it's intelligent, it's helping you to find a allow list of known safe applications that should be allowed to run on your machines. We're looking at the applications currently running, seeing if there's anything running that is known to be malicious. And if an unsafe application does run, Defender for Cloud will give you an alert for that. So those are really cool features. We also have vulnerability assessment and management. So this is more on the proactive side to help attacks from happening in the first place. We're giving you vulnerability assessment solutions for your virtual machines, your container registries, and SQL servers to easily discover and resolve vulnerabilities that exist on those resources. So if you have a vulnerability that's susceptible to remote code execution on your virtual machine or on a container image, you're going to be able to see that in the portal. If you have a SQL server, that allows XP command shell to run, which would give an attacker direct access to the underlying operating system, and we've seen that be used in attacks before. We're going to show you that within the portal. Even cooler, which I don't know how much I should actually be talking about this, and we have other videos at Ignite where we discuss this more. We are also reimagining the vulnerability assessment experience to show you where your most risky vulnerabilities are. So if you have a remote code execution on a virtual machine that's exposed to the internet, and that virtual machine, it also has a managed identity with permissions to Azure Key Vault, we're showing that to you on an attack path so you can narrow down what is most critical to resolve. And that's going to help our customers reduce their remediation time significantly and focus on what is most important, what can be most easily exploited, and what could actually impact and cause a threat to your environment at this current point in time. And then at the risk of sounding cheesy, I do want to say, but wait, there's more, because in general, the plans we discussed, they're applicable for your Azure subscriptions. We have a really native way to enable these plans, very frictionless, very automated for our customers. But that's not it. Like, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a multi-cloud and hybrid solution. So you can add resources that are on premises or in other public clouds like AWS or GCP. You can extend protection to your virtual machines, SQL servers, and Kubernetes services. For workload protection, you need to deploy Azure Arc. It's a software solution that allows you to project your on-prem and multi-cloud resources into Azure for centralized management. If you don't care about any of that, you just want to be able to see recommendations in one central place, you don't even need to install an agent. For multi-cloud security, we have an agentless API-based approach for cloud security posture management. So we can go out, discover your resource configuration information in public cloud environments, and give you recommendations within Defender for Cloud. All right, thank you for listening to me. I'm going to pass it over to Rod now to go into more detail about workload protection.
All right. So I'd like to share my screen. I think we're going to talk a little bit and jump into an actual console. I'm of the mind, and I'm sure you heard me say earlier, I've been in IT for 30 years. I actually like more or less to learn by actually doing things. So I'm going to kind of give you the whole environment here. I'm going to apologize to start out with. The screen, you probably can't see it. You're like, oh my goodness, can't he use Zoom it or something like this? This is, I did this for a reason. Talk about these workload protections, but I wanted you to see the scope. I wanted you to see the full screen here of this, what we call in Defender for Cloud, the security dashboard. All right. And I want to follow along with this Learn Live module. So by the time you get to it yourself, you're able to, get through it and have something that you've seen before. But again, this to me is probably, a lot of people think it's kind of a small thing, but I think it's kind of significant when you think about it. This has everything, all the stuff that Laura just talked about, which was a lot, right? That's a lot of stuff, a lot of capability that's built into this thing. But it takes all that stuff that's running in the back end and gives you a nice, pristine, clean look at all those things that are being managed and protected, those workloads and things within Defender for Cloud, right? So this is great. I've worked with a number of customers where they have these primary central security operations centers or, whatever, these security teams and things like this. They love to stick these screens, up on these big TVs and stuff like this, almost like kind of like 911 services or whatever, what have you. But this is huge. If you can come in here and take a look at this at a glance and understand that, my workloads look pretty good today, or we have some workloads we need to work on. Right? We have some gaps. We have some misconfigurations. We have this. We know what our task list is for today or potentially for, the next few days or something like this. This to me is huge. Again, I said, people think this is kind of a small thing. I think it's pretty significant. This is our dashboard. All right. So this is the entry point when into the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So you're going to see the high level status overview of all of that stuff that's working on the back end to produce this data for you, like your unhealthy resources. You can see there the regulatory compliance, security alerts. And in fact, we see that down here, and you can cursor down. There's all kinds of other goodness, inventory of your systems, workload protections, what have you. I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of our time together today, I'm going to increase the size of that. I hope that's pretty good for everybody, just so you get a better view. Yeah. But like I said, I just kind of want to give you the scope, because you have to kind of cursor around a little bit more when you do it this way, right? Next thing I kind of want to jump into, and again, I'm going to follow this Learn Live module, kind of follow this path, so we're covering everything the way that you would see it. I want to jump into the security posture. Laura talked about this already just a little bit, but I want to kind of focus here just a little bit more as well. She talked about, and I think this is huge, right? So it's one thing to stick an agent somewhere and just have it report every once in a while, what have you. But Defender for Cloud is continually assessing all of your cloud environments, those things that you have connected to Defender for Cloud, whether it's your on-prem, in Azure. You see here that we have AWS and GCP connected, right? So we have those resources and things like that connected here. It is continually assessing. What that means is you may have a VM somewhere, right, that for whatever reason, a port gets open. Who knows why? Maybe it's a developer, maybe it's an admin. They open up a port that they shouldn't have opened up. It's against policy. You're going to be notified here, right? It's going to tell you when there are security issues within your environment. So I have a few things here. We have an Azure subscription, GCP, and things like this, which we'll take a look at. But here's this secure score, right? This is a combined secure score from Azure, AWS, and GCP. So it looks across all those resources that we have. It compares it to what it knows about what Microsoft has fed it, and also you have fed it, because you know better about your environment than we do. It's going to take that and create a score to tell you where you're sitting at. And if you see a low score like 35%, and that's a little bit embarrassing for a Microsoft demo tenant, you have things to do. And the idea, and Laura mentioned it earlier, 100% would be absolutely wonderful, right? I'm going to tell you, you're never going to get the 100%, and you don't want to. Because if you're at 100% and you stay there, that means your environment is stagnant. Maybe your business might be stagnant or something. You're not deploying new things. As you deploy new things, you want to know where those misconfigurations are or where those gaps are, right? So you want to rely on something like the secure score and stuff like this, right?
That looks super helpful. Yeah.
Yep.
I love how it breaks it down by environment. So you can see in GCP what your secure score is, AWS, and then get it for each subscription.
Yep. So yeah, like Laura said, this is combined, but then down here I can say, I can look, and I'm like, let's see, what's the worst? Oh my goodness, AWS is horrible. What's going on with those folks? So we need to go check, see what's going on with AWS, because it's at 25%. Right?
And you can see that unhealthy resource count. It's awesome. But if I'm a security analyst, maybe I want to be able to see a single page of the posture of the resources that are actually connected to Defender for Cloud. How would I be able to see just a list of all of those resources and their status?
Well, as we would have it here, there's actually a blade called inventory, right? Perfect. So as you would kind of surmise, I want to see the inventory of the things that are, included. I have connected to Defender for Cloud. Obviously, it's inventory. And we can see that here, right? Inventory page actually provides this. Again, we're looking at, like the initial entry page, we're looking at a consolidated view of this stuff, right? So this is a single location for viewing literally all the resources across the cloud, on-prem, the other clouds, and things like that I have connected in this environment to Defender for Cloud. So I can look through and figure out exactly what is connected. I might want to change this environment, since we looked a little bit earlier and saw that AWS was the 25% protected. Why don't we just see what's going on with AWS? We have 668 resources, which is a lot to filter through. We'll talk more about these recommendations and stuff as we go. But as you can see, I can switch very quickly to my inventory. What are all of my AWS resources? Very simple and clear to be able to do that. Let's go ahead and clear this out really quick, and let's takes a second. We're just going to look at everything. Clear that out. You can also notice we can look at some things like storage accounts. Let's let's look at one of these resources, right? And see how we can kind of dig into that just a little bit deeper. We have, if we look at this resource, this virtual machine that we have here within this environment, we have all of these recommendations that we can kind of filter through. Some are healthy, some don't apply. We see a couple things here that is unhealthy, right? We talked about those recommendations for those gaps, those things that we can identify that we need to do for this resource. We can get some additional reporting for this, but this is a great way to take a look at this specific device and figure out what the situation is with this here. We can also take a look at any alerts that are associated with this. Fortunately, thank God we don't have any alerts, any security alerts associated with this. That's awesome. We can also take a look at, and I don't have any in there. I want to show you one that actually has. I'm going to bet that, a DC is absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say you can add a filter in to see
just
machine
those,
with a specific installed application. So over in the installed applications filter.
Ooh, we have one called victim PC. I wonder what that is. Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome. We can view those as outstanding alerts. Again, we talked about those installed applications, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, the filter experience is super, super helpful, super flexible. And I really like the recommendations that were shown for that specific virtual machine. Really helpful to understand the posture of a specific resource, but to manage all of the recommendations that scale for all of my workloads, maybe we should talk a little bit about that, see what's available there.
All right, let's jump into
recommendations.
The recommendations blade. There we go. Yeah, let's take a look at a couple of these things. You can see a couple of things up top. Let me expand this since the screen is large. MFA, secure management ports. What did you talk about a little bit ago? You talked about our just-in-time, right? JIT.
Just-in-time access, so
right?
securing management ports. You want to make sure that those are locked down.
So those, we'll talk about that here in a second. There's two things to me, particularly when you're migrating workloads from on-prem to the cloud or other places to the cloud, two things that you absolutely need to get a handle on, right? And it's identity and then open ports, right? And so you can see that right here, enable MFA and secure management ports. That's like the top two things, right, that we have right here, right? So that's kind of interesting because it's kind of that max score that we apply, which, we'll talk about a little bit later. But let's take a look at one of these recommendations that we have in here, okay? These are all kind of grouped logically. And if you take a look at these unhealthy resources over here, we actually have 2 out of 180 virtual machines for this one. Let's take a look. Let me expand this a little bit more. Let's take a look at this one. All right. These are the unhealthy resources based on the management ports that should be protected with just-in-time, which we talked about, which are not. All right. These are the unhealthy resources. We have 45 healthy resources. We have 122 that's not applicable for whatever reason. We can dig into that a little bit later. But these are the unhealthy resources and the things that we need to actually kind of take a look at. Right. So that's going to give me those recommendations very quickly. The other thing that I wanted to kind of point out as part of this in our filtering here, I want to add a filter. Tactics. Anyone that has worked in security for any length of time has to be familiar with the MITRE ATT&CK framework, right? It's this timeline of how events happen across the attack chain or, whatever, when you're looking for things. And it gives you a good indication, even if there is an open or potentially active threat, where in that timeline it exists, right? So one of the things I'm going to take a look at here, I want to adjust this. It didn't do it for me. Let's see. And it's doing that.
The demo gods are not in our favor.
Oh, the demo. Well, it's because the screen's so large. Let me bump the screen down a little bit. Let me change it. And then, nope, see, it didn't change, didn't keep my tactic. And we're going to start with initial access. Initial access, as kind of indicated, is the entry point for an attacker, right? The initial access, they take advantage of a open port, which we've been talking about. They take advantage of someone that doesn't have MFA, potentially a compromised account. So we're going to switch to that. Let me change the screen back so it's a little bit larger for everyone. So these are all based on that MITRE ATT&CK entry point, right? These are all the things that you can see here that need to be adjusted, or someone needs to, in my security team, needs to look at all of this stuff, right? So we have some things, some are overdue. We have, it shows the unhealthy resources and things like that. So we've added that. That's the initial access. That's that entry point, right? Since that is absolutely one of the first items on that attack chain for the MITRE ATT&CK. Let's take a look again at MFA. I keep talking about that as one of the two top things that you need to kind of identify and take a look at: identity and ports, right? So there's the MFA stuff. You can see from an attack standpoint, from that tactic, you can see that there. That's going to identify those resources that we have connected to Defender for Cloud that we need to take a look at from an MFA standpoint. MFA should be deployed across the entire environment. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, I was just
not
making
even
sure I wasn't wrong
cloud
about
environments, but overall.
All right, let me go back down and clear this filter because I'm going to need this again. Where'd my tactic? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's down here. See, this is what happens when you, there we go. Let's get rid of that. This is what happens when you don't use the full scope of your screen. I have a large monitor, and I think most everybody.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm checking the learn module. Oh, the vulnerabilities. All right. The one thing I want to point out, and I apologize for this, but I'm going to have to bump it down again so you can actually see this. This is remediate vulnerabilities section. This is kind of interesting, right? We talked about earlier about how Defender for Cloud is going to make recommendations based on what you have connected, whether it's secure or maybe there's potentially some gaps. You took that VM from on-prem, you recreated it in the cloud, and you kind of use those old bad habits of leaving that silly port open or something like this. This is where those recommendations are going to come into play and give us some additional value. But one of the things, and I'm going to pull this one up. This is probably a good one to show because it doesn't have the remediate. Yeah, that's not the one I want. Let's find. Oh, this is probably a good one.
And it's about Defender for containers, my favorite.
Right. So this is containers. Yeah. This is a recommendation that Defender for Cloud has given. Right. So here's the fix. Select the unhealthy and do this. Here's the manual remediation. Not every one of our recommendations in Defender for Cloud is going to have this cute little awesome click box there called Quick Fix Logic. All right. There's a lot within Defender for Cloud. All you have to do based on the recommendations is click a button and say, hey, go fix this for me. Right. But even if it doesn't, the recommendations for whatever that thing is absolutely going to be in here. Let me find a really good one.
Yeah, that lightning bolt, we'll go back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go back to it here in just a sec. Apologize for that. Yeah, this is not the one I'm wanting to find, but these lightning bolts over here from the insights, those are the ones that tell me that it absolutely has a quick fix solution as part of it.
Really easy. So you can automatically deploy a vulnerability assessment for your machines. Now you can use Defender for endpoint vulnerability management. You can use an agentless scanner if you don't want to install an agent on your devices, or you can use an integrated Qualys license, bring your own license. Really flexible, and they do have that quick fix option associated with it to make sure all of your machines are covered.
Yeah, and I think from that perspective, and I think about Defender for Cloud, if I was a customer, right, and I'm deploying workloads to the cloud and I want them protected, this is going to give me a comfort level like no other.
Right.
Not only can I deploy this stuff, we make it absolutely so easy to deploy stuff in Azure in the cloud, but we also give you the ability to get those recommendations, to deploy it right the first time, right? Based on your policies, based on the things that we know. That gives me a really huge comfort level to know that capability exists.
Definitely. And all of these recommendations, they're based on the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. That's a set of best practices that are taken from our own Microsoft practices and different standards like CIS, NIST, PCI DSS, but if I wanted to see how specifically I comply with different regulatory compliance standards like PCI DSS, then we have this regulatory compliance blade, which makes it really easy. You can generate reports. I've had customers provide these reports to third-party auditors before from the regulatory compliance blade. So Rod, please show us more about that, because
this is huge. And the number of customers in the finance sector or even government, right? CMMC for the government, working with contractors and things like this is huge, right? Retail, to be able to take the regulatory compliance and apply it across your environment, right? Not only are you going to get the Microsoft recommendations for how to deploy a VM with the ports shut down the way it should be, you're going to get the recommendations based on that regulatory compliance, based on that guidance provided from that industry sector, and have it applied to all of the devices and resources that you have connected to Defender for Cloud, just like everything else. So this is huge. Not only are you going to be get the information about how to be secure, how to cover those gaps, you're going to also know and get those recommendations on how to be more compliant with that industry that you work in. So that's huge. We have a bunch of them that are listed here already. NS Network Security is one of these things. You can see here, each compliance control has a set of associated assessments with it, just like the other recommendations we talk about for everything else. There's icons. If we go into any of these things, that's going to show you whether or not you're compliant or not. This one, virtual networks should be protected by Azure Firewall. Wow, 5 out of 5 failed resources for this compliance, right?
I can't believe we're not using Azure Firewall in this tenant.
Yeah, we have things to do. Somebody's going to get yelled at later.
No.
Yeah.
And also, I think what's really nice about this regulatory compliance experience is we do have so many built-in standards that you can use, but then you can also add your own. So if one of them, you can't find any that fit your needs, you can create your own. You can use your own Azure policies to monitor your workloads for compliance. If you're assessing AWS or GCP resources, you write your own queries and we'll show you your compliance. So there's complete flexibility here.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to highlight with all of our security platform products, Defender for Cloud being, one of those key pieces for this. It's not just kind of the Microsoft way of doing things, right? It may have the Microsoft name on it, but we allow our customers to integrate their own policies, their own compliance standards, and things like this. So you stand up Defender for Cloud today, 6 months from today, it's going to look completely different than any other customer in the world, because it is your tool. Yeah. It's like the tofu of security tools, right? Everybody knows what tofu is, right?
I love tofu.
Tofu takes on the flavor and smell of whatever you cook it with, right? Defender for
Especially
Cloud.
in soup, it's great.
Yep, soup. Yeah. Defender for Cloud is absolutely going to become your tool the more that you use it and the more that you apply it across your entire environment.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm fully convinced that I want to start working with Defender for Cloud. If a customer on this call is also convinced, how would they enable it? What do they do?
Well, we've made it simple. The unfortunate thing here is that Defender for Cloud is already enabled in this environment. Otherwise, if I went into it for the first time, it's going to step me through, right, how to enable it. Which is absolutely cool. The other thing is we have customers that are using Defender for Cloud already. There are ways to enable it across, other tenants, other areas, other resources within the environment, other clouds and things like this. You would just literally go into the environment settings. We can add additional environments, AWS, Google GCP, Azure, GitHub here. Well, we've got I should mention the Azure DevOps. That was actually announced yesterday. I can't go without announcing that super cool feature and function. Yeah. But you can add those here. I noticed, I have to kind of mention this. I noticed yesterday, because we want to talk a little bit about these auto provisioning is available within the Defender for Cloud too, because you can enable this in whatever environment you want to, right? But then there's also auto provisioning. Say I deploy a new virtual machine tomorrow. I don't want to have to go into this tool every single time that happens, because I have another team that's responsible for deploying virtual machines. we can set up, right, that auto deployment so that that virtual machine gets deployed.
It might be helpful to kind of explain why auto provisioning would be necessary in the first place. So for something like Defender for servers, we want to make sure that it's being fully protected with all of the capabilities. And one of those capabilities, well, a few capabilities, they come from something called the Azure Monitor Agent or the Log Analytics Agent. And that helps you with adaptive application controls, like I discussed earlier, defining the known list of safe applications. It helps you with file integrity monitoring for malicious changes to mission critical operating system or application files, registry keys. So if you want that agent deployed on each and every virtual machine, then you need to use auto provisioning. It's the easiest way to get that set up. So that's why we're bringing up auto provisioning, just to make sure that whenever you have a new workload that's spun up, it's getting the right agents installed and it's fully protected, and you can be more comfortable knowing that your workloads are protected.
Yep. And here's that section within that environment for that specific subscription that I just selected, right? So we can enable, this is where you go in and we make it so absolutely easy. Like I said, this one literally has everything turned on already. Yeah. If I wanted to turn it off, I literally just click the toggle switch, right? There's some other things. If I did it for the servers, I'd have to do from getting rid of the agent, things like that. But we do make it super easy to enable. I can click an enable all button, which I would highly recommend everyone do right now.
For a development environment, test it out.
Yeah. And then settings and monitoring is where that auto provisioning now exists, by the way. There used to be an auto provisioning option, but it's now in here, which is something I don't think we've mentioned quite yet. Because it is, Defender for Cloud is hosted in Azure, right? It's not an Azure, it's an Azure product. It's hosted here, and it supports multi-cloud and all that good kind of stuff. Because it is able to take advantage of this whole development process that we have for everything in Azure, every time you open up Defender for Cloud, you have the most current version of Defender for Cloud. It's not like you have to take your system down for an upgrade. Mm-hmm. Every time you go in there, you have the most current threat intelligence, the stuff that we found out about last night or whenever this gets synced in here. You always have the most current threat intelligence, right? So this is actually pretty cool. Always the most current, always the most threat intelligence, most current threat intel, and always new capabilities and features. Because you see, if we jump back out to the top and see these things that are in preview, these are public preview. Cloud Security Explorer, which we won't talk about, in that DevOps security, you're always getting new features and functions. So that value is continually being added as you use the product as well.
Yeah, that's all awesome. And for customers that are managing really large environments with hundreds and hundreds of subscriptions, how would they be able to check their coverage across their different subscriptions at scale? Like seeing how many machines are covered with the agent, seeing how many Kubernetes clusters are protected. What's the best way? Is that going to be in workload protections? Right.
Yep. Yeah. So sorry, I was the screen's large. I can't find anything anymore. Yeah. This is your Defender for Cloud, because our session today is about workload protections and workload coverage, right? So if we go into workload protections, you can see right away all the things that we have covered here, from security alerts. The coverage we have, the things that Defender for Cloud is actually blanket covering here are DNS subscriptions, Key Vault, Azure SQL databases, and things like that. The security alerts, which we can actually click through and go take a look at all the security alerts that have been surfaced over the course of X number of hours or days, which we can change, right? So there's the security alerts that exist there. What else did I want to talk about?
The MITRE attack tactics here as well. So you can also filter for initial access or credential access. So that's really nice. Maybe we should click on alert, see what it consists of.
Yeah, I was going to find a good one.
Yeah.
PowerShell. Yeah. So if we look at, let me bump the screen down again. Sorry, I'm going to, everybody that can't see these small things, right? You can click on each one of these, and it's going to give you a little bit more information about it. We can go into full details. And in fact, this one's security alert, suspicious use of PowerShell detected. Everybody knows that PowerShell is absolutely powerful. And it's a great admin tool, scripting language, but in the wrong hands can be nefarious and dangerous. So we have suspicious use of PowerShell detected, which was surfaced. Somebody potentially ran it that shouldn't have. We can actually, the account has been surfaced here, so we know who, we can go take a look, see who K. Dickens was, might have to connect with HR to figure out who it is, or if they should have the capability or ability to be able to run PowerShell in this scenario. The file that actually executed this, the computer where this was run. I mean, we have everything in here, the processes that came about. So as an analyst, I can kind of get a really good understanding of exactly what happened here very quickly.
Nice. So what if this happened, but it was on a machine where I know that that should be running? What would I do? Like if I don't want to be bothered with that alert again because I know that it's valid and I don't ever want to see it again, is there any way for me to suppress that in advance?
I'm glad you mentioned the word suppress, because absolutely, if we go into security alerts, there is a suppression rules option within Defender for Cloud. So if I click on that and I identify something like that, I can create a suppression rule. The unfortunate thing, this demo environment, I don't have write capability, so it's not going to allow me to do that. But you can kind of see the stuff that I can accomplish here, the subscription that I'm running against, the specific rule that I want to run for suppression, the suppression rule against. If I want to set an expiration date for this specific suppression rule, which is kind of cool, right? I want to test it first potentially. But yeah, you can do that. And I would highly recommend that, because there are other things that we can connect Defender for Cloud to, like Microsoft Sentinel. And if it's noisy in Defender for Cloud, it's going to be noisy somewhere else. So if we set that suppression rule here, it's going to help us out through the rest of our security environment.
That's awesome. Thanks for showing us.
All right, we have about 10 minutes. That's kind of the tour. I think that really goes down. I'm looking at the path here. That captures literally all of our Learn Live module. But I think we do have, don't we have some?
We have some more we can go through. So let's go back.
Some knowledge checks potentially.
Yeah.
Do we have those? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back. All right. So the next module is about enabling Defender for Cloud. Luckily, Rod took us through this, just about going to environment settings, selecting your subscription, if it's already enabled. If not, the Get Started page will walk you through it, and you can easily enable those different plans. For the knowledge check, so we have some questions that we want to ask you all. Make sure that we did a good enough job of teaching you some information. Not sure why it automatically jumped, but let me just read you. Yeah, or we can just, we can just walk through it. You see the answer already, right, Rod?
I do see the answer already.
That's okay. We'll work with it.
Well, let's do this. Let's see how many people can actually successfully click a B. How about that?
We can try that. Yeah, so you can vote at aka.ms/polls-f.
Right. So this one, yeah.
Yeah, maybe for the next one.
Yeah, make your selection. You can even try to mess with us and choose an A or C if you'd like. We will target you though. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let's doing it yet. It usually takes a little bit of time, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So let's kind of walk through that. Which of the following describe Microsoft Defender for Cloud's primary role? Primary role. So it does the security stuff, right? It does not necessarily configuration management. Oh yeah, somebody's messing with us. Somebody's hitting the C right now. So
yeah, I mean, as we discussed, Defender for Cloud, Cloud Security Posture Management, and Cloud Workload Protection. Since I don't see Cloud Security Posture Management on there, and this module was focused on Cloud Workload Protection, B makes the most sense.
All right, let's pop to the next one. I'm sure we have time. Oh my goodness. What is up with this deck?
The answers are already there.
Hey, it's an open book test. How about that? Can everybody press C? Well, let's just talk about this. So which Microsoft Defender for Cloud feature enables you to see the topology of your workloads? We didn't cover that. right? This would have been one of those where you kind of had to read ahead potentially in another module. So there is network map. We didn't go through that, and that wasn't really part of this learn module. So somebody is messing with you. Defender primary role. Somebody did push C. You guys are funny. It's probably Brody Castle. He's probably out there somewhere messing with us. One of my co-hosts on our weekly podcast. Everybody, let's see. Oh no, some people are pressing A on that one. All right, you guys are funny. All right, let's go to the next one, last one. Let's give you the answer to the final one. How about that?
Well, actually, let's ask the final one.
Okay. All right.
So to make sure Defender for Cloud covers all resources in a subscription, which option do you enable? Would it be A, automatic provisioning, B, continuous assessments, or C, coverage type? So this is to make sure that Defender for Cloud is fully protecting every resource in your subscription, making sure that if any agent is needed for that protection, that it's installed on those machines. What would it be? Automatic provisioning, A, B, continuous assessments, C, coverage type.
We did cover that, by the way. So just to see if everybody's listening. And nobody loves story problems. So anyway.
We're getting some votes in here.
We are.
Yeah, nice. Give it some time.
Yeah, give just a little bit of time. You have any jokes, Laura, that you want to tell?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not very funny.
Come on. Come on.
It's my birthday, so
is it really today?
Happy birthday, yeah.
Today's your birthday.
Today is my birthday.
Is it incorrect to ask how old you are?
I don't know if I want to date myself.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm not ashamed. I'm 25.
My birthday was Monday.
Your
birthday was Monday, and I'm 56. Nice. So if I'm sharing, you can share too.
All right. So I'm about half your age.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. See. All right. We have 66.67%. Oh, it's still going. I don't want to cheat you. Okay, so we're done with that poll there.
Yeah, so it's automatic provisioning.
70%.
Yeah, good job, guys. That means you passed. D+.
A+. And we gave you open book test the first two, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, so here it's automatic provisioning. This will automatically install the needed agents on those machines, your Kubernetes clusters, your SQL servers, whatever needs to be protected, automatic provisioning will help you out with that.
Well, and that's huge. You think about it, right?
I mean, it makes it so easy for our customers. It's frictionless. They click the button. Yeah.
Yep, that is so cool. Oh, there's our summary.
Here's our summary. So, Defender for Cloud. What did we discuss today? We talked about the different features of Defender for Cloud, what it consists of, cloud security posture management, and workload protection. We talked a little bit more about the workload protections, what's offered there in terms of security alerts, the advanced protections, the vulnerability assessments. And then we talked about how do you actually enable Defender for Cloud and set up auto provisioning to make sure everything is secure by default. And then to learn more, we do have the Learn module, of course, that you're able to access after this. You're able to go through the different documents, the interactive guide that'll walk you through the portal. So plenty of more information that you would be able to access. And
here's the thing I want to point out about that. I think it's huge. I forget the actual number. Somebody could, maybe Laurent knows. We have so many Learn modules out there these days, literally on everything that we produce. 3,700. Thank you, sir. Our producer says it's 3,700 Learn modules. He is quick. Holy crap. And that's awesome. When you think about it, what we talked about today, that's one module, right?
Yeah.
You can get even deeper into Defender for Cloud. We just talked about the workloads.
Right?
There's all kinds of other stuff that you need to check out. Yeah. This is going to get you addicted to Learn modules.
Yeah. And up to 17 languages too, our producer just said. And
that's awesome.
We even have a cloud skills challenge going on right now where you go through a series of modules. And after going through that, you can get a free pass for a certification. So a free voucher to take a Microsoft certification. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We had a really good time with you. Hope you learned a lot and hope you continue your learning with Microsoft Learn.
Appreciate it. Click the Enable All button in Defender for Cloud right now.
Yes, please.